Section 1. Producers, consumers, and decomposers. All living things are classified based on how they obtain energy. A living thing is called an organism. There are three types of organisms: producers, consumers, and decomposers. Plants are producers. Okay, so circle plants. Producers make their own energy or food. So you need to know this. Producers make their own energy or food. Producers absorb sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to make energy. So a plant, like a tree, needs sunlight to make energy. They need water to make energy, and they need CO2 to make energy. They need three things. Consumers eat other organisms for energy. Carnivores like lions, herbivores like cows, and omnivores like humans and bears are consumers. Decomposers obtain energy by breaking down dead organisms. Worms, bacteria, and mushroom and fungus are decomposers. Okay. One living thing is called a ecosystem, abiotic factor, organism, or population. What do you think? The correct answer is C. One living thing is called an organism. Identify if it is a producer, consumer, or decomposer. So in these blanks, you write producer, consumer, or decomposer. Identifica si es un productor, consumidor, o un descomponedor. Makes its own energy. Producers make their own energy. Very good. Okay, a worm. What is a worm? Producer, consumer, or decomposer? A worm is a decomposer. Eats other organisms. What do you think? It's a consumer. Mushrooms are what? Decomposers. Bacteria. What do you think bacteria are? Decomposers. Cows are consumers. Breaks down dead organisms are your decomposers. A conifer tree, like those Christmas tree or those pine trees, is a producer, because plants are producers. Conifer is a tree, so trees are producers. Phytoplankton. Phytoplankton are microscopic, that means very small. They're microscopic plants in the oceans. So phytoplankton are producers. Orca, or killer whales, are consumers. Okay, living things are classified by, so how do you know if something is a producer, consumer, or decomposer? How are they classified? How they obtain energy or food, how they reproduce, how they hunt their food, or where they live. What do you think? A, B, C, or D? The correct answer is A. Living things are classified by how they obtain or get their food. Okay. Section 2 is food chains, food webs, and energy pyramids. A food chain is a simple diagram that shows how energy flows. Okay, remember a food chain is like this. Okay, one after another. Every food chain starts with a producer. Okay, so this over here is always a producer. It always starts with plants. Most energy is at the producer level. Plants have the most energy. We can write that over here. Plants have the most energy. Producers are autotrophs. Autotrophs mean producer. Primary consumers are called first order consumers also. They eat producers. So this over here is going to be a primary consumer. Okay? They are herbivores. This primary consumer eats a plant, so they are herbivores. Primary consumers are heterotrophs. Okay? Heterotroph means animals. Autotrophs means plants. Secondary consumers or second order consumers eat primary consumers. So this over here would be a secondary consumer. Secondary consumers are heterotrophs and can be carnivores or omnivores. Tertiary consumers or third order consumers eat secondary consumers. Tertiary consumers are heterotrophs and they have the least energy. The least energy. Okay, go to the next page. Use the word bank to fill in the boxes. Usa el banco de palabras para llenar las cajas. So here we have a food chain. This is a food chain. We have grass, grasshopper or cricket. We have a frog and we have a snake. Okay, so you have to put these words somewhere on this food chain. Okay, producer. Who is the producer? Grass, grasshopper, frog, or snake? The answer is grass. So you write producer here. If you want, you can pause this video and do this by yourself and keep going to check your answers to see if you know this already. So si quieres puedes hacer un pause en este video, llenar todas las cajas con esas palabras y chequear sus respuestas más tarde. Primary consumer. Who is the primary consumer? Remember, primary consumers eat producers. The primary consumer is the grasshopper. So here you need to write primary consumer. Who's the secondary consumer? Secondary consumer eats primary consumers. It's the frog. So under the frog, you can write secondary consumer. Who is the tertiary consumer? Tertiary consumer is, of course, the snake. Okay? Where is the most energy? ¿Dónde está lo más energía? Where is the most energy? Plants or producers have the most energy. Where is the least energy? ¿Dónde está lo menos energía? The least energy is with the snake. Tertiary consumers have the least energy. Which one is the autotroph? Grass, grasshopper, frog, or snake? The answer is grass is the autotroph. We have 3 heterotrophs. Where are the heterotrophs? The grasshopper is a heterotroph because he is an animal. The frog is a heterotroph because it eats different things. The snake is also a heterotroph. Very good. First order consumer is the primary consumer. So here you can write first order consumer. Second order consumer is who? The frog. Very good. Second order consumer. The third order consumer is the snake. So you can write third order consumer here. Who is the herbivore? Herbivores eat only plants. The herbivore is the grasshopper. Primary consumers are herbivores. Okay, so you can check your answers. Okay, do the same thing here. Write the words in the word bank somewhere on the food web. Escribe las palabras en el banco de palabras en algún lugar sobre la red de alimentación. So this is a food web. We did this before in class, remember? Okay, who is the producer? Who is the plant here? The producer? You remember phytoplankton are microscopic plants. These are the producers. Okay, who is the primary consumer? Primary consumers eat plants. There are 2 primary consumers. Do you see them? The zooplankton is a primary consumer. The krill is a primary consumer because they eat producers. Secondary consumers eat primary consumers. So who are the secondary consumers? I see 1, 2, 3, 4 secondary consumers. So the Arctic cod is a secondary consumer. The baleen whale is a secondary consumer. The leopard seal can be a secondary consumer. And the penguin can be a secondary consumer because they all eat primary consumers. Tertiary consumer, nobody hunts them. Nadie lo caza. Nobody hunts them. It's the orca. Very good. Tertiary consumer. Okay, where is the most energy? Lo más energía? Remember, most energy is with plants. In this food web, the plant are producers. So here you write most energy. Least energy. Where is the least energy? There's only one. Tertiary consumers always have the least energy. Okay? Who is the autotroph? Who is the autotroph? Plants are autotrophs. Okay? Heterotroph. Everyone else is a heterotroph. I'm going to use the letter H for heterotroph. So zooplankton is a heterotroph, Arctic cod is a heterotroph, the baleen whale is a heterotroph, the seal, the krill, the penguin, and the orca are all heterotrophs. Okay, what does the Arctic cod eat for energy? What does the Arctic cod eat? A, leopard seal, B, orca, C, phytoplankton, or D, krill? Which one is it? What do you think? The Arctic cod eats the krill. The krill gives energy to the Arctic cod. So you should circle D, krill. Which organism is the most important for the survival of others? ¿Cuál organismo es lo más importante para que los demás puedan sobrevivir? So, which organism, if I take them out, everyone else would die? Si lo quito, todos los demás morirían. Is it A, phytoplankton, B, penguin, C, leopard seal, or D, baleen whale? What do you think? Which organism is the most important? The answer is plants are the most important organisms. Without plants, there can be no other living things. Sin plantas no puede haber otras cosas, otros seres vivos. So, who is the plant here? Who is the producer here? It's the phytoplankton. If there's no phytoplankton, there's no zooplankton and no krill. If there's no zooplankton or no krill, the cod would die, and the penguins would die, and the whale would die. If there's none of these, the seal would die. If there's no food for the orca dies. So phytoplankton is the most important. Okay? Alright, energy pyramid. Okay? Try to put all of these words somewhere on here. If you want, you can push pause and do this by yourself and check your answers later. Okay, producers. Where do I put producers? Producers go at the bottom level. Okay, this is the plant level. Primary consumer, where does primary consumer go? Primary consumers eat producers. So primary consumers go here. Primary consumers eat producers. Secondary consumers go here. Secondary consumers eat primary consumers. Tertiary consumers eat secondary consumers. So they go here. Okay, where is the most energy? The most energy is always with the plants, so it's on the bottom, most energy. Where is the least energy? The least energy is always with the tertiary consumers, on the top of the pyramid. Autotroph, where is autotroph? Autotroph means plants. So plants are on the bottom. You put autotrophs here. And then where do I put heterotroph? Very good. Consumers are heterotrophs. Animals are heterotrophs. Okay. First order consumer, second order consumer, third order consumer. Where do I put those? Primary consumer means first order consumer. Okay, I can say first like this. Okay, second I can write like this, and third I can write like this. Second order consumers go here. Second order consumers. Third order consumers go here. Herbivore, where does herbivore go? Herbivores are primary consumers. So you can write herbivore here. Okay, where do I put 10%? Do I put 10% here, or do I put 10% here? What do you think? Very good. I have to put 10% here. When the primary consumer eats the plants, they get 10%. When the secondary consumers eat primary consumers, they get 10% of the energy. When tertiary consumers eat secondary consumers, they get 10% of the energy, and 90% leaves as heat. Excuse me. Okay? Okay. How does energy flow? Write the letter. ¿Cómo fluye la energía? Escribe la letra. So what do we start with? A, B, C, or D? First, you start with D. What comes after D? C. Very good. What comes after C? B. Okay, because B eats C and C eats D. And then you put A here. Okay, a lion. Would lions go on level A, B, C, or D? A lion would be letter what? What do you think? A lion would definitely be a tertiary consumer. I would put him in A. A zebra. Where do you think the zebra goes? Zebras are herbivores. They eat producers or plants. So what letter? B, C, or D? Zebras are primary consumers, so they would definitely go to letter C. Grass is a producer or autotroph. Where would you put autotrophs? B or D? You got it right. I know you did. Okay. The water cycle. The water cycle is important because it recycles the water on Earth, or it cleans the water on Earth. The sun controls the water cycle. First, the sun heats the water. Okay? The water evaporates by changing from a liquid to a gas. Okay? So, evaporates means liquid to gas. This gas is called water vapor. This is called evaporation. As water vapor rises, it cools. It gets colder. As water vapor rises, it cools and changes into a liquid and makes a cloud. This is called condensation. So, condensation goes from a gas to a liquid. Okay? When the cloud is full of water, it falls as precipitation, like rain, snow, sleet, or hail. The extra water that flows into rivers, lakes, and oceans is called runoff. Okay, true or false? ¿Cierto o falso? Evaporation is when water changes from a liquid to a gas. True or false? This is true. Okay, evaporation changes from a liquid to a gas. Next one. Condensation is when water vapor gas changes into a solid. True or false? This one is false. Condensation is when water vapor cools as it rises and it changes from a gas to a liquid. So let's change that. This should be liquid. Condensation is when water vapor gas changes into a liquid. True or false? The water cycle is important because it recycles the water on Earth. This is true. Okay. Water cycle diagram. Fill in the boxes using the word bank. Llena las cajas usando el banco de palabras. Okay. Evaporation. Where would you put evaporation? Evaporation is this step. Good. Precipitation. Precipitation goes here. Changes liquid water to water vapor gas. Cambia líquido de agua a un gas en vapor de agua. This describes evaporation. So write that here. Changes liquid water to water vapor gas. Okay? Changes from a liquid to a gas. Water vapor. Water vapor gas cools as it rises and changes to liquid to make a cloud. Where would you put that? El gas de vapor de agua se congela cuando sube y cambia a un líquido haciendo una nube. That would go here. Water vapor gas cools as it rises and changes to liquid to make a cloud. So it changes from a gas back into a liquid. Okay, remember, inside the cloud there are liquid droplets of water. Hay gotitas de agua. Es un líquido. Extra water that flows to rivers. Agua extra que fluye a los ríos. Where would you put that? I would put that here. Extra water that flows to rivers. Rain, snow, sleet, and hail. These are all different types of precipitation. So write that here. Rain, snow, sleet, hail. Condensation, of course, is this one. Condensation changes water vapor gas into a liquid and they make a cloud. And of course, runoff is this extra water. Okay, almost done. Carbon cycle. All living things contain carbon. Producers release oxygen gas. Release oxygen gas. And consumers inhale it. Consumers exhale carbon dioxide gas, and producers absorb it. Okay? Write oxygen, O2, or carbon dioxide, CO2. Escribe oxígeno o dióxido de carbono. Plants absorb. What do plants absorb? Oxygen or carbon dioxide? Plants absorb carbon dioxide, CO2. Consumers release. What do consumers release? Consumers release carbon dioxide. We exhale carbon dioxide. Consumers inhale oxygen. Producers release oxygen. Okay, which one is oxygen? Which one is carbon dioxide? The plants are releasing this one, and the animal is inhaling this one. The cow or the consumer exhales this one, and the plants absorb this one. So what do you think? Which one's oxygen? Which one's carbon dioxide? This one is oxygen, O2. Plants release oxygen and animals inhale oxygen, and then animals exhale carbon dioxide, and plants absorb carbon dioxide. Okay, all living things have cobalt, cesium, carbon, or calcium. Which one? Carbon, of course. Okay, last section, nitrogen cycle. All organisms need nitrogen to make proteins. 78% of the atmosphere is nitrogen gas. Plants and animals can't use nitrogen gas to make proteins. First, nitrogen-fixing bacteria in the roots of plants changes or fixes nitrogen gas into ammonia. This is called fixation. Okay, so fixation changes nitrogen gas into ammonia. Lightning can also fix or change nitrogen gas. Then nitrifying bacteria change ammonia into nitrates and then nitrites and then nitrates. This is called nitrification. Nitrification is when the ammonia changes into nitrites and then nitrates. Next, plants absorb nitrates to make proteins. Okay, someone just came in my room. So next, plants absorb nitrates, NO3, to make proteins. Animals eat plants to make proteins. So that's why this is important. We need to make proteins. Last, denitrifying bacteria changes nitrates and dead organisms back into nitrogen gas in the air. This is called denitrification. So denitrification is changing the nitrates back into nitrogen gas, N2. All living things need nitrogen to reproduce, make carbohydrates, breathe, or make proteins. The answer is make proteins. Plants and animals can or can't use nitrogen gas to make proteins. Can we use nitrogen gas in the air to make our proteins? Can we breathe it in? We can't. We can't. Okay, here's a picture. You write the number. Okay? Plants absorb nitrates to make proteins. Which number is that? Plants absorb nitrates to make proteins. That's number 3. Okay? Plants absorb nitrates to make proteins. So write that over here. Plants and animals can't use nitrogen from the air, or N2. Is that number 1, number 2, or number 4? This is number 1. In the air, there's a bunch of N2, nitrogen gas. Okay? Organisms, plants and animals, can't use N2 to make proteins. Okay? We have to change the N2 in the nitrogen cycle. Bacteria in the roots, raíces, bacteria in the roots of plants change nitrogen gas to nitrates through fixation and nitrification. That is step 2. Okay? So, the nitrogen gas goes in the soil through fixation. It changes it into ammonia, NH3. Okay? And then, through nitrification, it changes it into nitrites, and then it changes it into nitrates. Okay? And then the plants will absorb the nitrates to make proteins. So this is called nitrification. Animals eat plants to absorb nitrogen and make proteins. That is 4. So the gopher eats the plants so that they can make proteins. Okay, use this word bank to answer the questions. Bacteria in roots changes ammonia to nitrites and then nitrates. Bacteria in roots fixes or changes nitrogen gas to ammonia. Bacteria changes nitrates to nitrogen gas and returns it to the atmosphere. So, what is fixation? Look over here. This is fixation. It changes N2, nitrogen gas, into ammonia. Okay? That is called fixation. Which one is that one? That is this one. Very good. So fixation is bacteria in roots fixes or changes nitrogen gas N2 to ammonia NH3. Okay. What is nitrification? Look here. Nitrification, you have these bacteria, they change ammonia into NO2, which is nitrites, and then NO3, which is nitrates. That is called nitrification. Which one is that one? This one or this one? Very good. It's this one. So nitrification is bacteria in roots change ammonia NH3 to nitrites NO2, and then nitrates, NO3. We use nitrates to make proteins, so we want nitrates. Nitrates are good. Okay, denitrification. Look here, denitrification. It changes the nitrates back into nitrogen gas in the air. So that's this one. Bacteria in roots changes nitrates, NO3, to nitrogen gas, N2, and returns it, lo devuelve, and returns it to the atmosphere or the air. Okay, that's it. Study for your test. And now do the practice test.